Right. Good morning, gentlemen. I think today we have got interview of Haime Jha. She belongs to Calcutta. Her father is a police officer with West Bengal Police. Her mother is a graduate. She's got her own business. Father is earning about 90,000 rupees per month. She herself has done her matriculation from ICSE board with 96.6% in St. Paul's School, Calcutta, and 10+2 again she has done with 95% with the same school, Calcutta. She is a keen karate. She for 7 years. She has been boxing. She has been swimming, and she has earned 3 silver and bronze in various activities. She has also participated in cultural activities like Odissi Vision Movement, Nehru Children Recitation, and then swimming. They are all her hobbies from there. So now we'll hand over to Captain Shashi for onward journey. What me and all other people except for 2 will remain in the muted mode. Right then, it's all yours.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, good morning, Haime. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine.
Okay, we have a very sweet and a different name. What does it mean?
Sir, Haime is basically another name for Ma Durga. It
Okay.
means originating from the Himalayas.
Okay, it's you pronounce it as Haime.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Then I stand corrected. I mentioned it like that. So you belong to Calcutta?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you have to describe your place and your state to somebody who's coming new to India, how will you do it?
Sir, Kolkata is a very beautiful place. It's very culturally rich. Anywhere you move around in Kolkata, in most parts you will see British monuments or architecture, which is extremely beautiful and reflects a lot upon the history of India in general. And the people of West Bengal in general are very welcoming and are very fond of learning about other cultures and also believe in practicing cultural heritage themselves. So I think that is one of the reasons I'm very proud of Kolkata.
Okay. And what are the cultural highlights of Calcutta if you are mentioning it so much that it is so rich and diversified? So what exactly like it means?
Yes, so there's Victoria Memorial. So one thing I would like to mention is if you check, then most people from Kolkata are actually into either music, dance, or recitation, or one of the things they are always into it. There's Jorashako Thakurbari, which is the birthplace of Rabindranath Thakur. And there's a lot other places like Birla Planetarium and other places like Belur Mott and all that, where you can always see British highlights of architecture.
Okay, I heard somewhere like, recently something has been accepted by UNESCO as one of the culturally an event of West Bengal. What was that? Something I have read somewhere. Can you throw some light on it?
Sorry, sir, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into it.
Okay, fine. So, like me, you have been aware of how the interview is conducted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it will be generally done in English. You will be alone with your interviewing officer, and there'll be some gap between where he sits or his table is and where your chair is, about 3 to 6 feet gap. And there'll be a side table kept with a glass of water or a bottle of water, basically for the candidates should they feel that the throat dries up, so to take a sip and all. The interview generally, the length of the interview or the duration of the interview is generally between 45 to 60 minutes. Okay, most of the conversation generally happens in English, but you can use an alternative language to explain something in Hindi if required, and then you should revert back to English as soon as possible. That is the general thing about the interview. The interview is basically about the candidate, and the candidate is allowed to speak about him or herself. Right? So we'll be starting our interview now. So during next 45 minutes or so, we'll be talking more about you, covering areas of your life like education, spare time interest, leisure time activities, hobbies, family, etc. in detail. Though I have gained some information after going through the PIQ form that you had submitted to us, now you may talk freely about yourself and your achievements in greater detail. Suppose you tell me about your education starting from class 10th onwards and working up to your present level of education. I would be interested in knowing about the percentage scored in various examinations, the subjects chosen for further studies, and also about your future career options. Talk about your participation in extracurricular activities, including games, sports, etc., any achievements in them. Mention about the teacher that you like the most and those who did not impress you much. I would also be interested in knowing about your friend circle that you have moved with while at school, college, hostel. Who are your close friends and why do you consider them so? Any difficulties in financing your education and such other things?
Yes, sir. Sir, I did my class 10 and 12 from St. Paul's Boarding and Day School, which is a school in Kolkata. I scored around 96.6% in class 10 board examinations, ICSE, and I scored 95% in class 12 examinations, which was ISC. Sir, I'm currently pursuing a BTech degree from Jadavpur University in civil engineering. I was quite satisfied with my scores in both the board examinations. And growing up, I was always academically inclined, and I always used to like be at least among the first two in class or in the entire batch in general. I also topped in my school in class 10. While in school, I was a part of many cultural activities. I was head of the debate society. I was the vice prefect of the school in class 10. And I had organized the entire sports event with the help of other teachers as well. I would like to mention that growing up in school, my favorite teacher was Mrs. Kakoli Chottoraj. One of the main reasons for that was she always encouraged curiosity among the students, and she always encouraged us to, go to her in the off time periods and ask her questions about science in general. And science was an area I was always inclined towards. She was my favorite teacher growing up. And there was no teacher that I didn't like that much. Everybody in my school was, every teacher I appreciated. And as to friends growing up in school, my best friend was a girl named Tamanna Sinha. The reason we were very compatible is she's very honest and straightforward, and she believes in giving genuine criticism, which I like to appreciate because it helps me become a better person. I was also part of OVM, Odissi Dance and Vision Movements, and I learned Odissi classical dance for a long time, around 10 years. And I also learned recitation for a long time, which in Bengali we called abriti. And I learned swimming growing up, and I learned karate up to the last belt before black belt, and I could not complete it because of COVID-19. That's about it about my school life. In class 11 and 12, I participated in various activities like science model making competition in Bosco Fest. Our school came in second in that competition, where various schools of Kolkata participates. Now, presently, I'm in college, and I do participate in activities like debate. And though I have not been able to explore the entirety of that my university offers, because I've just recently gotten enrolled in, but I have participated in a debate competition, and my group, that was a team of 5 people, had come in second. It was an interdepartment competition, and I never had problems as such with financing my education. That's about it.
Well, fine. Okay. Tell me, Humi, that what all competitive exams did you appear for after your 12th?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appeared in various competitive exams, including VIEEE, JEE Mains, JEE Advanced, WBJE, BITSAT, and an exam called that is for ISER, for going into ISERs. These were the exams I appeared in.
What were your rankings, if you may?
Sir, in WBJE, my rank was around 2000. And in JEE Mains and Advanced, which is an all India exam, my rank was around 40K. and
40,000.
Okay. And sir, in VIT, I don't as such remember the rank, but I did get Vellore Computer Science first category. So that's the best you can get at VIT, although I opted out of it. And in BITSAT, even there, we don't generally get ranks. We get a marks out of 360. For in my case, I got 250 out of 360, sir.
Okay. Fair enough. So why did you choose this particular stream and this university for your further studies?
Yes, sir. Sir, Jadavpur University in general is a tier 1 university in India. And I would like to mention this, the culture of Jadavpur University is a lot different and vast than the other universities of India in general. And sir, one of my mistakes was I couldn't get into an IIT, which was my initial dream because of maths. I did not score well enough in maths to clear the cutoff. And that is the reason I could not go to IIT. Jadavpur was always my second choice because it's an extremely good university. And sir, I chose civil engineering because I was always keenly interested in physics. And for various reasons, I could not take up physics BSc honors degree. And in civil engineering, sir, I was interested in astrophysics. There is always the scope where you can give GRE or GATE exams and further work in aerospace engineering. So that's exactly what I would like to do if that would be my alternate career choice. Sir.
Okay. But how is civil engineering linked to astrophysics that you mentioned?
So it's not related to astrophysics as much as it is related to space physics, actually.
Yeah.
So
you could have chosen some stream like aeronautical or something which could have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I could have, but Jadavpur University does not offer courses like that, aeronautical engineering, or actually, for a matter of fact, a very few universities in India offer those courses. Generally, you have to do core engineering and then take up your specialization after.
So why particularly civil? That is my question.
So the reason I chose civil was because I could always specialize in aerospace engineering afterwards. And also the fact that civil engineering has a lot of entries in defense, I think.
Okay. So basically you're looking alternative as in defense services.
No, sir, I would say defense services would be my key criteria and the alternative would be aerospace engineering in future.
So what happens if you get selected in defense? So you will let go of your dream of following NASA, your dream of NASA?
Yes, sir, I would.
Why is that?
Sir, because to tell the truth, I was never interested in defense growing up, but my grandfather was in the army. I was always intrigued by his stories, but I never thought of it as a career choice before NDA opened up for women. And my father was always supportive that if you want to pursue it, and he was the one who told me that NDA had opened up for women, and he asked me to appear for the exams, and I did. After qualifying, sir, I looked into a lot, and it really intrigued me, and it's a post of a lot of respect as well. And sir, serving the nation is something I'd always want to do to make people's life better.
So why are you choosing Air Force as a service of choice?
Sir, Air Force would be my first priority. It's not that it has to be Air Force, but it would be my first priority, sir, because I would still like to be connected to engineering a little bit, and I think that is more applicable for Air Force.
What's your power of your eyes?
Sir, 1, sir.
So I'm sure they must have given what the selection criteria for Air Force for eyesight is like.
Sir, it is 2.5. Yes, sir.
So what will you do if they don't select you for this?
Sir, I would like to try for Army then.
Okay.
Navy or Army.
But then if they give you a core in Army, which is different from technical branch?
Sir, I can work with that. It will be fine. I would still choose that over.
You will still choose?
I would choose that over civil engineering, I guess.
Okay. Tell me, who's the present Air Force Chief?
Sir Vivek Ram Chaudhary,
What's his rank?
Chief Marshal.
What Chief Marshal?
Sir, he's the Marshal.
Okay. And who's the Chief of Defense Staff?
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
Okay. Tell me, which is the latest aircraft that Indian Air Force has acquired?
Sorry, sir, not aware. I will look into it later.
Okay. How are planes able to fly in air when a mobile or a car does not?
So because of its streamlined body structure mainly, and it uses Bernoulli's theorem.
What is Bernoulli's theorem?
So Bernoulli's theorem initially means that the energy that a body has for its speed and the height it is at, and for the external pressure, the energy that is always constant, sir.
Can you explain it again?
It means that the energy a body possesses for its position, that is the height, for its velocity, and so due to the external pressure, has to be always constant.
Then why does the car does not fly? You know, we have the sports car, they have a aerodynamic body, but they don't fly.
Sir, I'm not really clear on that. I would have to look into it.
Okay, fair enough. You mentioned something about your friend Tamanna, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said that she's a very honest person and a good critic. You know, it helps friend in what kind
Yes,
of
sir.
criticism has she given you?
So I often tend to be overachieving and I focus a lot on various activities, and that kind of diverts my attention or dilutes my attention. And this has happened a lot in my school life. Like I was trying to manage a dance competition and my semester exams and some other competition all at one go. So she's always been there to, like tell me that you shouldn't get so diluted at all times. There is something that needs to be your main focus because you can't expect to have the best results from all of them. So that is something I really appreciate.
Okay. So, but if you are able to manage, then why should it not be left free? Like you are able to manage everything in 24 hours. Some people are efficient in handling multiple things.
So sometimes it takes a toll on me because sometimes I'm actually not able to manage. And there have been instances where I have had a negative impact of it on my scores in general. I always pick up later, but sometimes it has a negative impact on maybe 1 or 2 exams. So that has happened quite a few times. And time management is something I have to work on. It needs to be more efficient in my case.
Okay, so what happens, like, if you don't score that much as your benchmark is? So
I feel bad for it, and so I always try to make up for it in the next semester by scoring even better so that my entire score has a balance.
So what do you do then? Then you let go of everything and focus on that.
No, sir, it's not that. It's that I would say that I have been balancing quite a few activities for a long time. I don't let go of it, but I do concentrate on more studies. Maybe instead of participating in 3 events, I'll participate in 1 and will study a little more if needed to, manage the score.
Okay. So how did you feel when you couldn't crack JEE? You have been a school topper. And
so it's not that I did not crack JEE. What happened was, to be honest, after JEE mains, there was a problem. I'm not blaming anybody, but in our year, there had been a technical glitch, which was always there in the newspapers. I'm sure many people know that. During the technical glitch, a problem had occurred with my paper and my rank had drastically decreased, whereas it should have been around 15K, it got behind to 40K because of that technical glitch. That disappointed me a lot and I tended to lose hope. Even though I picked up later, I scored a lot of marks in physics and chemistry, but due to some issues, I could not manage maths as well. And I got a lot of negative marking, sir, which is something I should have worked on before. And that is the reason I could not clear the cutoff for maths. But otherwise, sir, the score that I had was good enough to get me IIT. But because of the sectional cutoff in maths, I got behind, sir.
Okay.
So that is something I really need to work on. I have
Okay.
been working on maths.
Oh, okay. That's perfectly fine. You mentioned the board ICSE and ISE. Is there some form of difference between the two?
No, sir, there is no difference. Both boards are controlled by CISE, but that's what the exams are called.
Okay.
ICSE exam and ISE exams.
Okay, perfect. And what about your teacher? You mentioned that you generally are appreciative of all the teachers, but if I have to give you the ranking,
Yes,
which
sir.
teacher will score the least mark and for what?
Sir, I would say a ma'am called Mrs. Sylvia Banerjee would probably come last.
Okay, why?
Sir, she did not teach me for long, but I felt certain times that she was a science teacher. She was a physics teacher in my lower section, in my junior classes. She focused a lot on rote learning than on building concepts, is what I felt from her way of teaching. So that would be the reason, sir.
Yeah, concepts are science is all about getting
Yes, sir.
concepts
That
cleared
that is what I felt.
and observations and curiosity, as you mentioned
Yes.
about your other teacher. Perfectly, I get that. Why didn't you become appointment in your school after being a vice prefect in class 10?
Sir, actually, I got into 11 during COVID times, and we had both the years online classes. And that year, there were no nominations. We did not have a prefect or vice prefect.
Oh, because of online.
Yes, sir. We did not have any
If
such.
if it was there, you could have become what prefect or a school girl, whatever what they call
Maybe,
it.
sir. Yes, sir. I probably would have been.
Okay, so what is the main primary objective of the appointment of vice prefect?
So the vice prefect has to coordinate all activities and events of school. Like throughout the year, we used to have inter-house competitions. Every month there were 2 or 3 inter-house competitions on junior, senior, and high school levels. So that is something that the vice prefect had to coordinate along with the prefect. And then there were also inter-school events that I had to work on, like choosing the girls, training them, helping them with the information or the material required. That was something. And we also had to focus on events of the schools that the school organized, that could have been the annual fete or the concert or the picnic.
Okay, so what was the most difficult assignment in your experience?
So the most difficult assignment in my experience was the annual concert, because in the concert, I was also participating in a skit in which I was dancing, and I had choreographed quite a bit of it. And along with the dancing and the performance, I also had to perform the duties of a vice prefect. I had to go up on stage and give speeches in between. And so that was something I had to balance, because the makeup and the dressing up also got delayed because of that. And but sir, I wouldn't say I faced a lot of issues regarding organizing the entire thing, but on the date of the annual concert, we have it for 2 days, I faced difficulties with that issue, that I had to focus on 2 things at once. I had to perform duties as the prefect, like going up on stage, giving speeches, and also concentrate on my performance. So
Okay.
that was something I found a little difficult.
Okay. There are it happens in school. Many children are very talented, and they generally are able to come on stage, do things. And there are certain students who are having some kind of phobia towards stage and all.
Yes, sir.
So, what is your take on it?
So I think the reason some students are more comfortable on stage, like as in my case, I would say it's because of the exposure you get while growing up. Because while growing up, you're always, some students are always free on stage because they have always done it since their very childhood. So they become more comfortable and it's not an issue for them. But for other students, I feel they don't get enough exposure during their childhood when they're really young. And then that fear builds up that people will judge you. And I think to get rid of that, it's easier to perform in front of friends. Before that, I feel they'll give you the genuine criticism that you require to perform in front of a bigger audience, a larger audience.
Okay. So don't you think the school's curriculum should have some form of method, where they allow every student to overcome certain aspects of the personality, like stage fear or something like that?
Yes, sir, of course. Schools should have that curriculum.
So was that the case in your class also?
Sir, I wouldn't say there was an official curriculum as such, but yes, sir, there were students who were extremely talented, but they had the fear of facing the teachers. In our school, this was a thing. They couldn't face the teachers or go for auditions because they felt like they wouldn't be selected. But sir, everyone in my school was really supportive. So if somebody was like that who was talented, we used to encourage them to go to the auditions, even if they wouldn't get selected. That is something, there was a mutual bonding between all the students. And so there were teachers who were really encouraging. That I'll have to say. There were teachers who were very encouraging.
Like, as your experience being a vice prefect, did you come across some things like that, like, for your house or something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did come across.
So how did you overcome that?
Sir, I used to, sir, actually, because in certain events, I had learned it growing up. So for them, I used to help them with the training procedure. Like if it's a piece of elocution, I used to make them practice again and again, sometimes in front of a lot more people. And so with that, I felt they could, get a hang of the thing that they had to do on stage. So I think that, and even if there were areas outside my expertise, I used to ask my friends or any person from the house who was an expert in that area to train them during off periods.
Yeah, but what about the fear part? The training part is more like a professional skill, but that inherent personality drawback that they have of facing the teacher or the crowd, that fear.
So we used to always do stage rehearsals 2 days before. And I do understand the fear doesn't just go away, but I felt with stage rehearsals, it got relatively better. If there was a stage rehearsal, it got better with time.
Well, okay. Well, that gives me a fair idea about your education and other related activities. Now, I would be interested in knowing more about your family. Tell me about the members of your family, including your grandparents, brothers, sisters, etc. What do you do at home? What are the kind of activities in which you personally get involved? Whom do you approach for help if you have a problem or you want to confide? Mention about your friend circle in the neighborhood. What do you do together? How much of pocket money do you get and how do you spend it?
Sir, I live in a nuclear family with just my parents. My father is Mr. Manas Jha. He's a police officer in charge of CPW in Kolkata Police. My mother is into network business and her name is Moshumi Jha. Sir, I have both my parents of my father are alive, and in case of my mother, only my mother's mother is alive. And sir, in the society I live in is called Bodyguard Lines. It's a police housing. And sir, growing up, I was very close to two people in the entire campus. That was a girl named Shoponi Bhattacharya and another girl named Mohika Thapa. Mohika was 3 years older to me, but that's something I never really felt because we were really close growing up. And activities we performed in, I remember winters, we used to play badminton every night. And so we used to play a lot of games growing up, be it football to a certain extent, be it basketball, because and so we used to participate in cultural activities which we have here, like in Durga Puja and in Kali Puja. We used to perform group dances or group skits as such. That's something we did growing up. And so as to my life in home, I do like reading a lot. So when I am free during my off time, I read a lot of books. And my parents are also like avid readers to a certain extent. So I discuss those books with them. That's like a fun activity in my family, discussing the books with them. If I've read a good book, I'll recommend it to them, especially my father. He's really keen on it. And sir, as to helping with the household activities, that's something I really need to work upon. But I do help with cleaning sometimes. And I do help with certain external activities. Like I accompany my father on walks or on jogs sometimes. And a pocket money, sir, I wouldn't say I receive a pocket money as such. When I need the money, I just ask for it, and they give me a certain amount of money on a daily basis. But I would say it amounts to around 3,000 a month. So, and as to how I spend it, so I require 1,500 rupees for my daily travels, going to college and stuff. And I try saving up as much as possible. And so 500, I would say I do spend on food in college or for certain recreational activities as well. That is something I do spend on. And I generally save 1,000 bucks or maybe 500 bucks every month. That is something that goes into my bank account.
Okay. And so what do you plan to do with that money?
So generally during my parents' birthday, I get them gifts with that money. Or so sometimes I'll just save that money up and I'll buy a good book for myself or some technological gadget. That's something I'm very fond of doing. So I save up the money for that.
So what technical gadget have you bought recently?
So the last thing I bought was a Tribit headphone.
What is that?
So it's a Bluetooth headphone, sir.
Okay.
Overhead headphones.
So why?
Sir, I'm fond of listening to music, sir, and my old headphones were wearing out a little, so that's why I got the new ones.
Okay. So you mentioned you generally don't participate that much in household activity. Any specific reasons for that?
So I would say in 11 and 12, when COVID hit, I used to help a lot with the cleaning because the maids wouldn't always come. I used to help my mother with sweeping, washing the dishes. I used to help her with that. But recently, in the recent days, I have actually been really busy with preparing for SSB and college in general. So I hardly get any time, which is my fault to a certain extent. On weekends, I do try to help her with the cleaning. And sir, I would say even though this isn't an household chore, when my parents have to write emails or have to write documents for their office work, that is something I do it for them. They just tell me the gist of the material and I just write it up for them.
Okay. And whom do you approach for help if you have any problem?
So I generally approach my mother for advice regarding my personal lives. If it is something regarding travel or something other than that, I'll probably approach my dad. I'm close to both of them, sir. I'm very close to both of them.
Can you explain me with some example, what was a problem that you faced that you approached your mother? Anything that you can share?
Sir, if there's a dilemma that is going on in my mind regarding anything, like if it be friendships or personal relationships in my life, I'd always approach my mother. Or if I want to have, I want to have a talk, a hearty chat with somebody, my mother is my go-to person. She solves problems extremely easily, be it whatever. So she has a wonderful insight towards my life. So that is something my mom helps me with. Like recently, there was a confusion in me. Like I was a little diluted with a lot of stuff like SSB coaching in general, college practicals. And there was an event I wanted to really participate in, which is a rock climbing camp, which is going on right now in my university. So her advice was right that I probably should concentrate on that after SSB. That is something that I always approach my mother for.
Okay. And with your father, what kind of advices you get?
Sir, advices in general, like about my life, what I should perceive of my future in general, that is something he really helps me with. He is the one who actually motivates me towards everything. He's the one who told me about NDA. He's the one who encouraged me whenever I felt it would be difficult managing NDA with the other competitive exams which were already going on for me, sir. So that is something he's really keen on. And sir, I would say even if I get stuck on the road or I can't sometimes understand which bus to catch, because that was new for me after COVID, traveling on the streets of Kolkata alone. That's something he's always tremendously helped me with. Whatever knowledge I have of the streets of Kolkata, it comes from him, sir.
Okay. Well, that gives me a fair idea about your family and other related activities. Now, I would be interested in knowing about your hobbies, spare time interests, leisure time activities.
Yes, sir.
What do you like to watch on television? If you have facility to access internet, how do you make use of it? I would also be interested in knowing about your routine on a working day or a holiday.
Yes, sir. Sir, I do not watch much television as of now, but I do watch certain series sometimes if I'm free. It could be a series called Big Bang Theory, which is a sitcom, or it could be something intense like the BBC series of Sherlock. because I like watching retellings of a novel which is really old. So leisure time, just like I said, I love reading books, any sort of fiction, novels or non-fiction, anything that it might be. So I also love playing badminton, and I've been recently learning table tennis in college. So that is something I'm doing as of right now. And if I ever get the chance, I go for a swim, but it becomes really difficult for me, like as of now. On a working day, my routine looks like waking up in the morning and I go for a walk or a jog, and I work out a little. And after coming back, I take a shower and I leave for university. I generally reach the university at around 10 o'clock. And sir, on off periods, when I'm off, we don't always have regular classes. So when I'm off, I'll play with my friends or go to the library sometimes if I need to collect up on some material for my studies. And I come back home at around 6 or 7, sir. So that's what my daily routine looks like. After coming back home, I catch up on assignments. We generally have daily assignments. I catch up on them. And at the night, I go to play badminton with my father, during the winter especially. And sir, I come back home, I read books for maybe an hour or half an hour, and sir, then I go to sleep, sir. And on a free day, sir, I generally wake up in the morning and the workout part is the same as the working day. And then I come back home and I discuss the happenings of the week with my parents if they are free as well. And then, sir, I like to study for competitive exams, and because that's how I studied for SSB, also for NDA, and I try to prepare a little on general knowledge as well. And sir, in my leisure time, I generally watch YouTube videos about stuff regarding space physics. So that is something I love doing when I'm free. And I have friends in college who also are into it. So we discuss during our free time about it. So that's something I do. So that's something I also do with my father sometimes. Like we watch videos on YouTube about the happenings of astrophysics or any science and technology in general. That's how I use the internet, I would say. But I also use the internet sometimes. So if in college I miss a class and I need to learn a little more on the topic, that's when YouTube comes in handy as well. And sir, if I'm writing some papers for college, I always use the help of the internet for citations and all that. That's how I'll say I use the internet. Though sometimes I also use the internet for staying in touch with friends and a little bit of social media. I don't use social media a lot, but to stay in touch. And so all my assignments come in via the internet. So all my assignments of college, all the events of college, it's something how I stay updated to via WhatsApp or Telegram nowadays. So that's something. And during my leisure days, when I'm really free, I sometimes go out with my friends for a fun day. Sometimes I go out with my parents as well. So that's how a day that I have off looks like, preparing for exams and having a little fun here and there.
Interesting. So what all preparations have you taken for NDA?
Sir, because of COVID, 2 years, I wasn't very physically active during those 2 years. So I had to regain that a lot. I'm on the way. I still haven't gained the full strength that I probably will require. But sir, I'm on the way. So that's what I've done. And I've also practiced SRTs and WATs and story writings. I've tried to practice them every weekend or on days when I don't have a lot of study load from university. That's what I've done to prepare for SSBRs. I've also practiced lecturers.
Okay. You mentioned something about space physics. It sounds very interesting. So what was the latest which you have seen, which you can share with us?
So the latest, so I've been reading a book called The Small Answers, Brief Answers to the Big Questions. It's a book by Stephen Hawking. So in that book, I recently discovered a lot about black holes in general and how we could proceed in the future of knowing the universe. So that is something I really like. Like, there were also theories of Roger Penrose, who thinks that the Big Bang theory that we know about probably wasn't the beginning of our universe, but it was the end of another universe. Another universe ended, and that's what the Big Bang was, which gave result to elements or molecules coming, not molecules, elements and atoms coming out, which gave rise to another universe, and how the space is expanding and what we can expect of it, or when the universe can come to another end, or wormholes in general. So that's something I'm really keen towards learning and reading about.
Okay. Great. And which is the latest novel that you have read, and what is it about?
Sir, I didn't read a novel as of recent. The last book I was reading was the book I told you about. And before that, I read a book called, sir, it's a book about the Mahabharata. It's a retelling from the point of view of Draupadi. It's a book by Chitra Banerjee Kulkarni. That's the book, sir.
So what is it about from perspective of Draupadi? Sounds very interesting.
Yes, sir. It starts with the book's name is The Palace of Illusion. Sorry, sir, I forgot to say that. It starts with how Draupadi was grown up, and then it moves forward to how she got into uh, the Swayamvar that took place, what she felt of it, and how she felt staying in the forest for so many years with her 5 husbands. And it also has a really interesting take on the Mahabharata, which we avoid. Just knowing about the Kurukshetra is probably a very small part of the Mahabharata. So
Okay.
that's something I learned from that book.
What was the new thing, which sounds very interesting? Can you explain it to us?
So could you come again? I couldn't get it.
Your last phrase, which you mentioned, that Kurukshetra was just a small portion of Mahabharata. There is more to it.
Yes, sir. Sir, as much as I'm aware, around 1/8 part of the Mahabharata revolves around the Kurukshetra. It starts with the birth of Krishna and the generations that come before Krishna as well. And sir, one thing that we don't really know is Mahabharata is not a book or a mythology. Mahabharata, the fact, I wouldn't go into the fact that whether or not Mahabharata really happened, but up until the times of Ashoka, Mahabharata was proceeded from one generation to another generation via retellings. Like a a teacher used to, a guru used to tell about the Mahabharata, about the happenings of the Mahabharata, the 8 lakh stotras to his student. His student used to give that knowledge to another student, and nothing had written records until a few years before Ashoka's reign started. And sir, it is said, or it's a conspiracy theory, that Ashoka had also gotten the books rewritten because there were parts of Brahmastra which suggested nuclear weaponry, and there are a lot of books written about that conspiracy as well. Like there's a book called the Mahabharata Secret about the fact, that's a book I've read, which was written by, I think, Christopher C. Doyle. So this is an area I'm also really interested in, like exploring the myths of India and the history of India. That's something I'm really interested in. So
Okay. Well, fair. That's very nice knowing so much about Mahabharata, which even I didn't know. Now you have opened up my mind. I will certainly go get into it in my spare time. Well, that's a lovely thing. Now tell me something about your personality, the aspects of your personality which you consider are your strong points and the things that you need to improve upon.
yes, sir. So as I said, I really like indulging in a lot of activities and exploring. And I think that's a positive side to a certain extent, like exploring opportunities. That's something I really enjoy doing. And I also try to pay keen attention to all the details that are available around me, which helps me form a project. And I'm a really honest person and a dedicated person. So if I am doing an assignment, I try to give it my full best as much as I can, even if it means sacrificing a little on my sleep. So that's something I think is a positive side of my personality, that I'm a dedicated person to whatever it is I'm doing. And sir, as to bad negatives, I would say, as I said, I need to work a little on time management. And sir, I am a little dependent, emotionally dependent, I would say, on both my parents. That's something I need to work upon. Because if throughout the entire day something has happened, until and unless I speak to them about it, I feel a little heavy. That's something I think I need to work upon.
No, I guess that is with everyone. Why do you call it emotional dependency?
So because I feel that throughout the day, if something happens and I do not speak to my parents about it, I do not feel good and I tend to get gloomy. Like when I speak to them, I'm fine. I'm fine again. I'm cheery and happy. But until and unless I do that, I have a hearty conversation with them, I tend to get a little down. So towards the end of the day, I really require a chat with my mom or dad.
Okay. So do you say if tomorrow you go to NDA and you are staying away from your parents, how are you planning to cope up?
Sir, I know I will be fine. It will be difficult in the beginning, but I also know I will be fine eventually. Maybe it will be hard for a day or maybe a week. I'll be fine. That's something I know because I've been to camps before without my parents. And sometimes when they are really busy, like they have, which has been the scenario in my house for a month now. So I'm trying to get over the emotional dependency. I'm trying to do that.
Because you may be aware that, like, it's unlike any other, getting into a defense establishment, the training is going to be very rigorous.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They may have strict regulations about interacting with parents and things like that. So, there'll be a lot of restrictions on it.
Yes, sir.
You can't come home for 6 months at a stretch.
Yes, sir.
And maybe once in a month you are allowed a phone call. How do you think you'll be able to withstand that kind of a pressure?
Sir, I think everything comes with practice. Like as somebody said, after 21 days, something becomes a habit. And so there will be a lot of people around me who will go through the same. So I think it is possible for me to overcome that emotional attachment I have with my parents. So I think I'll manage.
Okay. And say, for example, like, you are unable to cope up with it. So will you quit?
No, sir. I wouldn't quit just because I'm unable to cope up with emotional dependency on my parents. I'll try whatever I can. I wouldn't quit because of this simple reason.
But then it'll be too much for you to withstand. You said, like, it impacts you.
Sir, I'll try to keep busy because when I'm busy doing something, I generally don't think about other stuff. Like I said, I'm very dedicated to what I'm doing for the moment. So when I'm busy thinking about it, it's only during my free time that I feel down, that I haven't spoken to my parents. So I'll try keeping more busy, I guess.
That you won't get. They'll keep you busy. So I think that'll be there. Okay, tell me something like, now you're in a college and your girls are out on a trip, and there are some hooligans or type of people, they come, like you're on a trekking, 6-7 girls.
Yes, sir.
And then some 8-9 boys come and they kind of that road Romeo kind of a thing they do. What actions will you take?
If it is possible without violence, I would like to avoid it and move away from the area and report it to any officer that is in charge over there. Because I think if you're going for a trek, there will be a troop who will be the trainers over there. I'll report it to them. And if it is impossible for me to go about without violence, then I'll probably use violence if required.
No, this is just like you girls, one fine day you have a lot of free lectures, they had nothing else to do. So they decide that, like, let's go and explore
Oh, okay, sir.
around the area. Not exactly an organized concept, but with your friends, 6-7 girls, you decide that we'll go and explore in and around area of Jadavpur. And there you come across such people, about 6-7 guys.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll walk away from it. I'll walk away from I wouldn't look at them. We all will walk away from it. And then we'll probably go to Jadavpur Police Station and inform them about the issue.
But if they continue following and, like, 2-3 guys, they come very close to your friend.
So I'll probably yell for help then and also try to attack them. I'll hit them and I'll also call for help because generally there should be people around. If possible, I'll call. Otherwise, I'll use violence.
So they also, like, males physiologically, not otherwise, I'm saying. They are generally physiologically, males are more stronger and, like, they push you back, they push you off. And they tease the weakest girl or the timid girl of your group, who is very submissive kind and all that.
Sir, but as much as I learned in karate, there are always techniques to hit people even if they're physically stronger than you, because there are joints where you can hit where it really hurts. It doesn't always have to be that just because they're physically stronger, I cannot defeat them. Yeah, that's something I learned.
So, like, as I mentioned, you start fighting, they start fighting back.
Yes, sir.
But your friends are scared.
Yes, sir.
So what do you do?
So I generally have my phone on me. I just dial up the police station and I would fight back for as long as I can.
Okay, fair enough. Tell me, like, you are going on a walk per se. Okay, and you find that a car comes and one girl is being pushed into that car. It's a lonely stretch of road. You are walking alone. Say morning, you are taking your walk and a physical activity, and a lonely stretch of road. You find 4-5 guys. They come out. They pick up a lady and they bring it inside the car. What actions will you take?
Sir, I will note the number of the car and the model and car color if possible, and then I'll rush to the nearest police station and show them the car's the number plate.
They don't have a number plate.
Sir, I can always give the police the location where I saw the last car and the how the car looked, the model or the color.
So there'll be many cars like that. Say
Yes, sir, but
Maruti, some brand of Maruti, and there's no number plate in that.
sir, but it will still be easier to like locate the car if it is known the model, even if there's not a number plate. They can stop cars and look into the thing at junctions.
Okay. Now, say for example, like you're in a hostel, okay, and your exams are coming through, and you find there are a certain group of students, fellow hostelites, they are having loud music and playing.
Yes, sir.
So, what will you do? You have an assignment to complete, and they are playing loud music and having a party.
Sir, I would go up to their room and request them to stop doing it. And I would demand that they don't do this because there are other hostelites who have a lot of assignments. I would come back and probably use noise cancelling headphones.
And they still continue. When they are your seniors, they say, to hell with you, we have gone through this assignments and all. Don't tell us what we need to do.
Sir, I would gather up a lot of other people who are also facing the same issue, and majority generally win. So we all can go to them. And
no, everybody says that they are the dadas of the hostel and will not like to stand up against them.
so then if we all of us couldn't go and approach them, and if they are too timid to go and approach the seniors, we could always go to the warden. Like a group of us, not just me, a group of us, because that will put pressure
Nobody
on
is agreeing. Everybody is scared of them.
Sir, I'll make them agree, because if we go to the warden has more power over.
Yeah, but then they said that warden won't be around 24 hours, no? But these guys would be, this hostelites would be girls or whatever.
So, but still, the warden can take some action against them, even if she's not around 24/7.
So they come back again and they start harassing you and your roommates or your entire batch.
So we'll try to convince them that this is not right, because so we live in the same hostel. There's no use creating violence or any sort of disagreement in the hostel over something like a party. So I would try to convince them to maintain a decorum or the peace in the hostel, because it's useless fighting amongst each other.
Yeah, they say that, okay, when your assignments or your semester, whatever your batch exams will get over, you party will not disturb you. Now our exams have got over, we are celebrating.
So they can party as much as they want, but they could keep the noise levels a little down.
So they say that's your problem. We never come and tell you also play loud music when your time comes.
So we say that we won't play loud music if that disturbs anybody else. There are a lot of other ways
So
to party other than loud
that is
music.
your problem. You don't want to play loud music, you don't play, but we want to play.
So they could do it outside the hostel. They could choose a place outside the hostel or far away from the hostel enough that it doesn't disturb other people who live in the
They
hostel.
say that this has been what we have seen our seniors doing it. Now it's our time. We are doing it. It's up to you.
So I would tell them that it's wrong to disturb others, and they could always take it a little away from the hostel. There's always space on other parts of the campus where people won't get disturbed.
Okay. Say you are walking, you guys are going to a zoo. Okay. Your classmates and you all are walking into the zoo, and all of a sudden you find people shouting and running away from the zoo side, and they're saying, run, run, the tiger is out of the cage. So as you people start moving away, you see a small 5-year-old child standing looking lost, and you see the tiger moving towards the child.
I would yell at the kid to stay, like, not move around much, and I would try to call somebody for help, like somebody who trained the tiger, because it's a zoo, there has to be trainers. So I would tell some of my friends to call for them, and meanwhile the girl could, generally animals
You
don't
find
attack.
that the tiger is moving, the distance between the child and the tiger is reducing at a very rapid pace.
I would tell the child to maintain eye-to-eye contact with the tiger and move back slowly as possible. But because she's a child, it can't be expected for her to stay calm. So I would try to bring her back.
When you see the distance is close, now the tiger is ready to pounce.
So I'll snatch her away if possible.
The tiger starts running away. After you, not running away, the tiger starts running after both of you.
So by that time, shouldn't help already arrive, because it's been a while. I mean, there's so many people around us already.
Yeah, but everybody is scared of their life. In India, we leave people dying on the street. No passerby even stops his car.
So, but the officials of the zoo, the people who train the tigers, they'll be around somewhere.
So it's happening at a very fast pace. By the time they are coming, you have to take some action. That's the situation. Yeah, they are around. They might be coming. Somebody must have informed them. But the tiger is now smelling human flesh. A raw, tender 5-year-old human flesh.
Sir, I'll try to climb a tree if possible.
Okay.
And push the girl up.
Okay. Well, it was lovely interacting with you. I have asked you many questions. Do you have anything to ask me?
Sir.
It was lovely interacting with you. I got so much of insights about a lot of books, a lot of theories from physics to Mahabharata. Thank you so much. Sir, I am over.
Now, let's start first. Anmol, have you heard it? Any comment? Anmol, unmute yourself. Rahul. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Listening, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Let me have your views, Rahul.
Yes, sir. Sir, I feel she's a very bright kid, sir. Apart from that, I feel she's jumping on the answers very soon without listening to the complete question. That's where I believe she can.
How do you say that?
I felt many times she was not listening to the complete question and she started for her answer.
Why? Which? Just give me an example.
Where did you feel it? Where did you feel it?
Initial parts, sir. When I joined, if I remember it right, in the initial part when you asked her about the teachers, plus the college also, VIT college also. So you didn't complete a question and she started for her answer. So that's when and this thing repeated for a few times. But she had her points.
Okay.
That's for
next,
you.
Next point.
Next thing, she was using few Western terms like K. K is used for 1,000 for 1,000. 1K for 1,000. So she can work on official language also, because that is preferred.
Yes.
These are 2 points
Okay.
for me, sir.
Anything else from your side?
No,
Anmol,
sir.
can you hear me? Anmol, can you hear me? If yes, unmute yourself.
Anmol is there.
Okay. Now, Kamleshwar, let's have your views. I think it's nice. Thanks to Kamleshwar who joined it. Kamleshwar, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Let's have your views first.
Hello.
Well, Yomi, it was nice.
Kamleshwar, let's have it first.
Kamleshwar, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I joined it late, a little late.
What was little you just?
Yeah. So overall, yes, sir. Overall, what I got, three things I got. First is the girl is open to experience. She has tried many things, and the second thing is, although she is open to experience, somewhere that mental stamina is getting compromised because she's not been able to manage things. Particularly, she has mentioned it also time and again. And the third thing is that the motivation is there, but not a genuine motivation. Like if she is trying for Air Force, then she doesn't know Air Chief Marshal is the rank. So maybe genuine motivation is not. Done. That is the only thing.
Thank you. Okay. Anmol, can you hear me now? Anmol.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, like, sir, the side I found that, sir, like she was able to express, sir, like her experiences she was sharing. But, sir, on the same hand, sir, I believe that somewhere that motivation or that fire, sir, it was lacking, sir. Like the reason to join the defense.
Kamleshwar had joined, said that. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And sir, at one point, like she mentioned, sir, honestly to speak, sir. So, like, what is the need to say, like, honestly, I'm speaking. Like throughout, somewhere
that's understood around it. Fair enough.
Yes, sir. And sir, lastly, the general awareness.
Hardly any question on general awareness except for false he has asked. Not many questions on general awareness was asked to him.
Like in the end, also like the SRT was given regarding that. Sir.
That's not general awareness in any case. That is the normal. That's the situation which has been created, and the reaction to the situation may be there.
Correct.
General awareness question was not much asked.
Not much asked.
Okay.
Just one more thing, sir. Like what Rahul was saying, that she was jumping toward the question. I felt when sir asked her about the hobbies and interest, then I felt that she was jumping. Just going. Sir said about hobbies and all, then she was just going there to answer there.
Okay, jumping to see. Okay, that's let me just tell you psychologically. There's one advantage. Anyone who's bright, there's a tendency on all those people who are bright to know exactly what the other person is going to ask. So they suppose what the question is expected and they jump to that's unfortunately the process.
True.
This girl happens to be quite bright, very sharp. She has dedicated, put a lot of effort onto that. She knows exactly what what to expect, what is coming. So as a better, and she is just one of those horses which if you are going to equestrian like a horse, waiting to jump in. So that jumping is there, probably that a bit of patience. Yes, I agree with you, but it's required. But you can't really blame her for starting to answer, because everyone she is bubbling with that energy you like to give back. Okay.
It can't be penalized. I have not penalized.
She can't be penalized for giving the answer that way. Just equally, right? Because she is so sharp at her brain. She's quite sharp. There you grant her. She's well read. She studies around there. She's multifarious activity that she has got into it. As a result, now she knows what is coming back, and she would like to throw up what will give back around that. That's the reason.
Yes.
Okay. Agreed around that. She should have had a bit more patience, which she will learn as she grows around the system, because probably this must be one of the first few times she would be facing this sort of interview. Not only she would have faced this much interview any time. But yes, there would have been some interview in the class, school, and all those particular things would have been there, but you won't have been a serious measure as this. Okay, so grant that much. Okay, Kamleshwar, let's have it beyond that. Any other point?
No, sir, nothing. She's good, sir. She's good.
Okay. Let's have a Colonel SK. I think let's have our honored guest.
Yomi, it's nice interacting. I saw your interview. You're a very good student you've been, and you're a topper in 10th class. I mean, your academics is wonderful. I openly admit. But things where you need to improve is, you see, you have said you have not been able to give why civil engineering, and you're trying to go in for an Air Force SSB. The question which he was asked, that why you want to go in for a civil engineering? But there is a lot of engineering discipline, but why civil? And you are trying to go to take up on Air Force SSB. I mean, there is some sort of a more understanding which you need. I mean, you have to go into depth of this particular question and then answer. The second was, your grandfather was in army. You just mentioned it as if you don't want to tell us. Please mention it. What was his rank? I mean, how many years of service he had, and why he motivated you to join SSB or to join forces. These are two points which I made. The second is, the next one is, you said my power of I is 2.5. You are a science student. You know what a power of I is.
Sir, I said it's -1, I think. It's not 2.5.
She said -1. She said -1.
You said negative?
1.
Yeah, negative. She said 1.
She said 1.
Oh,
She
sorry,
said
sir.
one,
Sorry,
yeah.
sir.
You
She
didn't
said
say negative. As well,
Sorry.
She said 1. She said 1.
You said 1 initially and said the maximum is up to 2.5 in Air Force.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are a science student. You should be very clear, and you're going for a Air Force SSB, which is more technical than what you are presently doing. You know, you should be very apt with the what is the power of lens? I would ask you. What is the power of lens?
1 by focal length.
No, what focal length? One focal length. What is the unit?
Diopter. He's asking the
Diopter.
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 Say it is -1 diopters. So it should be very clear. I mean, all these methodologies should get into it. You are a science student. Even our students come and tell me it is +1 or -1, I will accept it. But the moment you are a science student getting good education, getting very good marks in your 10th and 12th, I mean, I really demand that thing from you. And then coming down to your father, I mean grandfather, I have already told you. Then the next thing is, your father is a police officer and he's a CPW. What does CPW stands? I don't know. Please educate me.
Community Policing Wing.
Pardon?
Community Policing Wing.
Community Policing Wing. I mean, he's on payroll of the government of Bengal, or from some association. He's on what payroll?
Government based of Bengal.
Government of Bengal.
Yeah.
Is it like that? I mean, I am not aware. That's why I'm asking.
Sir, Kolkata Police.
Community Police. It is Kolkata Police. And what is his rank?
OC.
OC means?
Officer in charge.
Oh, no. What rank he wears?
Sir, OC. Officer in Inspector.
Inspector. Say inspector. See, these are the terminologies which you are using is probably confined to a place called West Bengal. I mean, an outsider like me, I've been hearing for the first time. I mean, inspector is a well-known brand, and when you go in an SSB, you try to speak out the language which is actually attuned to everybody, not particular to your state, right? Now,
yes, sir.
This is my point. And next is, I mean, one thing was you said that your JEE mains was not very good because there was some hitch. I also read into the paper. But your father wanted that you should do IIT. So don't you want that you should give another chance for the JEE IIT? If you don't make it to SSB?
Sir, I wanted to get into IIT because it's a very reputed university. Yes, sir. But being an IITian was not the goal of my life. Being an engineer was, which I can just as be from Jadavpur.
Okay. Understood. Then prefect in your school. You are a vice prefect in your school. I mean, you said that at times, when the final is being conducted on the stage, I have to come and have to speak and do my address, this, that. I mean, I would like to advise you on one thing. Any event which you have to perform in front of public for the last day, you have to rehearse it number of times before it comes into practice. Republic Day parade is supposed to be on 26 January. But in armed force people and other, forces people, their practices for more than a month.
Yes, sir.
That practice you must inculcate in your habit, and it will also inculcate you to have a better time management. The time management was slightly, which I was not very sure. No doubt you are a young girl of 18 plus. I mean, you will learn with your experience, but the time management should be very, very critical on these aspects when you are trying to display any event in front of the public. That was my point. Then coming down to you see, when you have a problem, you said, I'll probably approach my father. You are a single parent child. Sorry, you are a single child of two parents. I mean, you don't have any brother or sister whom you can actually converse and try to find it out what the solution. Probably approach my father is not correct. You have to approach your father. There is no two way about it. So you say probably approach my father. It means you are distant. You are keeping your distance from your family. Your father is not your mother. Is everything for you.
She said that she approaches both father and mother in different occasion, in different round there. She did say that about it. And did say for particular subject areas she approaches her mother, and for particular that she approaches her father around there. That she did come back.
That when Shishir asked her the question that in this scenario, what you will ask your father? Why? She said, probably I'll approach my father. There's no probability in this. She has to have
more specific. She could have been much more specific and particular. Listen to the question much specific.
I mean, you are pulling an arrow, it should go there into the bulb. No, nowhere, right after it is a family matter. I mean, you cannot look for like further, probably or not. No. And one thing more, I personally feel you are a very protected child. 18 plus, now going out, doing going to your college in a school bus, coming down at 7 o'clock. You should come out of your protection. I mean, you have to face the world now. You are a young girl. I mean, you have to come out of that protection. You don't get a protection everywhere in life. Coming down to when the pretty chap will say there are so many people are trying to force you back. You never showed any spite in yourself and in guts to face that chap openly. That thing, I probably you will get it because you are still a young girl of 18. You have not been exposed. You get yourself exposed. Exposed in the sense you must interact outside. And you said, I got only 2 girls friends who are very close to me. That is not sufficient. You stayed in a society which is a police society. There are so many houses. You should have interacted with minimum 10, 15. I mean, that will build your confidence. You're slightly, that way, you're controlling yourself only to confine to one particular, this thing, only 2 girls and 2 friends. No, that you have to improve a bit. Otherwise, I think you're a good candidate. You will walk through everything, and your confidence is there. But you have to make yourself fully conversant so that every question which is being asked is appropriately answered. I have finished, sir.
Right, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just let me first and foremost, Homi, you got everything making. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
You are academically sound. You have got good sports activities and with quite credential. You have got a quite credential about it. You are following cultural extracurricular activities and all particular things are there. So when you look at it at your own self, there is nothing wrong with you. First and foremost, you have got the capabilities to, I always say, capacity, capability, competence, comfort level, and involvement. They are the 4 things I always talk about it. So you have got the capacity, you can work hard, you can undertake so many activities to that capacity to undertake. You have got capability. If you didn't have a capability, you won't have a score mark. And you've got competition as well, competence in certain aspects which are already there. Seem to be comfortable, but there is a certain amount of tendency comes back that you tend to be under pressure. That has to be avoided. That has to be avoided. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That pressure has to be avoided. That's just Pushkar just mark and ring kar lo. Okay, okay. Okay. So now there is a tendency to come under pressure on this. So there is there's this mental stamina gets slightly onto you. You're stretching yourself. There's nothing wrong. You can stretch yourself quite a bit. Just like there's elastic limit and plastic limit. You are trying to stretch yourself. That's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with the system. Okay. So the capability wise, if you remain normal, every interviewing officer will try and pass you. Let me just tell you straightway on to the without any doubt.
Yes, sir.
90, yes, yes.
And so the first and foremost, you must have this much confidence looking at you and the way you talked about it. There will be failing. We are all humans. There will be problems. That's that. There are problems. But you can always improve a lot. That you got who improves? Those who have got the competence. They can only improve. You know yourself and you can. Very first starting itself, you mucked up the whole interview. Let me just tell you very straight. We have started. He asked you, tell me about Calcutta, and very nice. And you started with only it is British. It is famous for British architecture only. Is it Calcutta only for British architecture? Calcutta is a city of joy, city of happiness. What all things are not there? It is the gateway of all Eastern world. Complete. So many things are there. It is the commercial capital. So many things activities are there, and you wasted the opportunity which was given to you to talk about Calcutta itself. Very first time you wasted and wasted really much. I was literally, taken aback. You can't afford to do that. A child who has stayed from childhood to now, she can't afford to talk about your Calcutta. I think that's bad. Secondly, you did talk about then it's a cultural heritage. Very nice. And when you talk on cultural heritage, you talked about Victoria Memorial, Birla Platinum. That's not the cultural part. So you could misplaced idea you had around there. You should have talked when you talked about culture. Very nice. When you remember, he says, just now we have got some organized something which has been given. It was your Durga Puja which was given that tag around there, which has
UNESCO.
You should have known about it. You know about it. Don't tell me that you don't know about it. And the very first question that he answered, which he is giving, he is ultimately giving on platter.
Yes.
He's giving on platter that this, and this has happened last year only. This just was not even 6 months, 6 months past within this. And if you can't able to talk about it, that shows that you are involved in your own self. You are not trying to have general awareness and all things like this gets missed off. You can't do that. Okay. Second, very first thing which you talked about very, very nicely, you talked about you got 40,000. And you said you try to blame the system. That is called rationalization. That's called anything. And remember I was talking about the biases and cognitive distortion. When I talked for anything that happens good, you take the credit. Anything that happened good, you always trying to blame others. This particular thing has to be about this is a wrong tendency. You must avoid that. You have not achieved it, so
yes,
they have simply told about, yes, sir, I got 40,000, which I'm not happy. That is not based upon my potential. Well, something must certainly gone wrong, and which I know mathematics was one of the portion. That's the end of it. What is the use of blaming that there is only the technical hit? Technical hit won't have affected only Haime. There might be many other candidates around there. You are not only exclusive in that exclusive club. And corrective measure what was required was already taken by JE. You remember that. That is very clearly told. So you cannot blame the system about it only because you got 40,000 and then you got about it. Next, when you talked about the after 40,000 and you expected that with 40,000, let me just tell you, within about 5,000 for general candidate, 5 to 6,000 was the maximum ranking for the JE means that you could have got for IIT. Not even 20,000.
Sir, no, sir. Actually, there's a thing called qualifying for advance.
Oh, that I agree. What you say qualifying, you have to get minimum marks in all 3 subjects. That I'm aware of it. Yes, that is what you say. Cut off mark for mathematics, you couldn't afford it. That's okay. I agree with you. I'm agree. Even with the JE mains, JE mains, which are there 40,000 rupees. People have got NIT and other these colleges have got it. They have not even advanced. They have not appeared.
Sir, I got those universities.
You should have talked about it. That's okay. So
sorry,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then what you went in the wrong direction, and you wanted to show up. I did something extremely well in Builder. What with that the VIT? I got computer science VIT mains. VIT mains is one of the institutions. That's in Madras. There's nothing great about it. VIT mains, and that the two campuses which are there in Madras.
Vellore is famous for medical.
Even they have computer science is there. That's nothing but nothing great. What is nothing great about it that we have to go only for VIT and a bit planning? Okay, fair enough. You can afford it. Your father can afford it. That's fair enough. That is nothing wrong. And very rightly put, because when you answer that question, why did you join Jadavpur University? It was a very right question. At time, I used a very nice way of putting it. It was one of the good university. I have joined it. But the choice of subject you couldn't justify. Absolutely, it is misplaced. The choice of civil engineering, and then you talk about aerospace engineering, it has no connection whatsoever. No, absolutely no connection. It's like me, it recollects me when I was going for I was giving an interview on there, and I have opted for optoelectronics for the system. And I said, because there is no connection with material science and optoelectronics, and IIT professor from Madras told me, don't I beg to differ with captain. And that is the time. So that's like so it's unconnected. You can't afford to miss. You being a bright student, you can't afford to do that. Okay. So then GRE, then physics you talked about. Then next, very rightly put, because absolutely you can't afford. You simply talk chief marshal. There is no air chief marshal. There is air chief marshal. Air vice marshal, air chief marshal, rank and upon. You must have the fair knowledge of service which you are trying to go for. And you ought to have knowledge. You can't tell me you don't even read the papers of which are the Rafale and other equipment which has come around. You can't walk across without knowing this. You're going for interview for Air Force. You have to know about it. They're the fundamentals. Okay. Then after the achievement, then you talked about knowledge of service. I just said that's very much required. Then you talked about streamline effect. Then you talked about how does the effect, you talked about, and then you talk energy point. That is said is wrong, grossly wrong. You talked about knowledge principle, very right. Then you say buoyancy and thrust, that are the only two things which required. So you should have simply talked about it. What he marked again, say it has energy, and then he rightly put what why does the car fly? So you can't, being such a bright student, we cannot expect you to be lowering your guard. You can't afford lower guard. Understand, if the country, more intelligent you are, more difficult question would be placed to you.
Yes.
And mind you, interviewing officer job is to bring you to the closer. Mind you, till such time you say, "Oh, I give up." That's how the interview technique goes. More intelligent you are, more and more difficult question will be placed to you. Until such time you come to the end of the road. And because interviewing officer wants to know to what extent can you afford to stretch yourself. You may not know anything. What is initiative? Initiative is walking into unknown territory. So even if you don't have knowledge about it, you can extend the knowledge. You are talking, we would know, we say also high-tech equipment, you are talking about it. If you got knowledge about that, why can't you have the knowledge here? You have to extend those knowledge to this side. That is what the experience comes into play. So initiative is going into unfamiliar situation and walking into evolving situation and bringing to closer. That is what initiative is. It is not necessary you will get every event. Every event will not be coming back around there. Okay. Second, you talked about the friendship you had. You simply talked about very nice. You say my friends are very honest and they advise me. And for wherever they're critical of wherever do that, very nice. But what is advice they get? Don't dilute your reason for dilution. Is that don't dilute yourself. That is not the only advice your friends will give it to you. You have to have like what the friends tell you. What advice do we get from friends? Is it only don't participate in all activities, participate in only one activities? No. They are your close friends. They would have given much better suggestions throughout your life. What are those suggestions? You have to pick up those events in your life itself. They would have advised you choose this subject, choose that subject. Let's go for this boxing. Let's go for something. If you are a boxer, so many sports, they would have advised you. Let's go for this activities. This is good place. This is right place. Those are the advice which comes from your friend. You were not able to justify at all. Understand? So the reason for that, the rationalization I already talked about. No, then you talked about nuclear family. I'm slightly more concerned about it. You started the nuclear family when your grandparents, you yourself are there. You didn't talk much about your grandparents. I don't know, I missed out for a few seconds. You didn't never talk to your grandparents. You did talk a lot about your father, you talked about mother, but you never talked about grandparents. Where are they staying? What are they doing? How are you interacting with them? What are advices that you are getting from them? So that clearly indicates that there is certain amount of cutoff between the system. There's a clear indication. I don't know what is that you would be knowing it yourself, but given me an option, I would certainly make out that there is a gap between the grandfather, the interaction with the grandparents, the people are there slightly. You would have had, do you have any uncles?
Yes, sir.
You have never talked about that.
Sir, actually, we don't live together. That's why I thought I have to.
Understand the question.
His question was there, his question very peculiar. He said, tell me about your parents.
Your family members, including grandparents, brothers, sisters, etc.
Answer that very first question. You have got your uncles, you have got your grandparents there, you got your thing, and you only got restricted to yourself, their father, mother, and yourself. So that indicates that the involvement with the society that becomes crucial, and that gets supplemented when you talk about it. I'm staying in this place of your the police line.
Police line. Police colony.
Only two friends are there, and what are they? You have only interacting with them for playing badminton and other aspect. That's all. When involvement comes in the community, if you are living for 10 years, 5 years from there, your involvement with so many activities. What are those activities? You would be organizing puja, you are going donation, you do so many other activities you must be doing. Yaad rakhna. I'm quite convinced which you must be doing it. You would have been participating in cultural activity in your society. You would have been done that was there. Why don't you bring it out? Those are that is where the concept. How do you interact with the people in and around? Secondly, you have not talked about what you know, even if when Colonel Sharma has rightly put across, you talked about from childhood to 12th round there, you can't talk only two friends. You would have friends at your where you are located, you would have from the school, you would have from college now, you can, so you would everywhere you pick up some odd friends.
Yes, sir.
And those, so you have to talk about you. That is being very bad again. Okay, nuclear family. Then, as a matter of fact, he has to prod you many times for many activities. That has to be. You lost your concentration and attention in between. You started off well from there. Subsequently, when you went to all the hobbies, interests, and all, then you lost your total concentration. You started answering from the last rather than anything. You started with TV itself. You started answering when you say what are the hobbies, interests, and that aspect. You started from the last. And I recollect, I have already said your answer should be in the same sequence as it comes. And you may not be able to answer all the questions, remember all the questions, at least answer 80%. So you have to start from the beginning and go to the end. So until unless you pace, you can't afford to leave your attention cannot afford to go down. So what you went wrong there. Just it's a sinusoid, but it's sinusoidal. You paid attention, again you come down. Again, so that is normal. That it will happen because it's an interview for half an hour, 1 hour. There is a loss of attention. That's why the interview is scheduled minimum for 45 minutes. Other you could have been done within 10 minutes. You would have finished. Looking at your PIQ, everyone knows you're a good girl. There's nothing else. He done the interviewing officer has nothing to do with it. Looking at the PIQ, he has already decided I'm going to pass this girl. Unless you cut your own feet and put your own mouth, put your own mouth. That's exactly what you're doing. So you could have walked across because even if it just remain, you would have walked across on your own merit. So what is there? So that is hobbies. And say again, you says then you says your last May he did try to put a lot of pressure onto you. Some reaction would somewhere appropriate, somewhere inappropriate. That reaction would have been, you are a good girl around there. If someone tries to get her out of me, what do we do? If no one is there, I'll encounter him, isn't it? Can I leave it? Can I wait for someone else to come? But then, and you are a boxer, you go to all sorts of activity, you got it. Why should be afraid of it? Secondly, if a child is there, a tiger is available. So what you have allowed the child to be killed by the doctor, kill the tiger, isn't it? How do you, can't you afford to think of distracting the tiger itself in some way, some fashion? You were talking about last, you said you went off the tree and they try to pull up this. How do you, when you go to climb up a tree, do the tiger want to be, they're trying to attack you?
Yes, sir.
And so it means what? You just totally, his aim was to put a pressure onto to break your facade, and that he has been able to achieve. So what I said, you should not react, but respond. Use your brain, what best I can do in that circumstances.
Effective intelligence.
Not only effective, see, it's a situation. Situation is created by him, and that situation is required, it creates a problem. And that problem is placed in an environment. He's creating an environment. And every situation, when interacts with the environment, that the person, when interacts with the environment, person changes the situation changes the person. So that's the basic so that you have to ill. Now, so again, tigers, that is a words very badly handled. You did have very well handle your appointments. You talked about activities for class appointments held and all. They were very well handled. They're very, very well handled. You did go into quite a few details. You talked about the annual concert, and then you did try and answer the very nicely that stage 4, how to recover. That what we call shaping. That calls when a person has got a phobia, that by shaping the time reduces his phobia. Okay, so that is the point. You did handle that down there. You talk about mutual bonhomie, teachers encouragement, help. So you did talk about good thing about it. But worse thing again, if the teacher literally came back later on, that was again there you lost the guard. When you talk to a teacher who don't like it, and he came back after 10-15 minutes, when you talked about the teacher who don't like why they are, that was a poorly handled situation on there. Okay, that's all. I think overall, you can walk across on your own merit. Just have to remain normal. Listen to the question that is being asked. Answer the question to the point, not beyond that. You have got enough capability, you have control of it, and rightly put, because try and avoid any slangs and other aspects which are there. It is supposed to generalize. Colonel Sharma, I said, people do not know. Secondly, in the PIQ itself, I had already told you on there, you must write the rank of your father. And its rank is important. He's a background inspector. That's why it's a respected post. There's nothing great as such, or nothing very wrong. So you should be proud of this. Simply talking about police officer doesn't mean anything. That shows what you're trying to indicate. That's a show business. You have that exhibition. What is exhibition? You want to, you don't want to expose yourself who your father, your parents are.
Yes, sir.
So that secondly, when you look at the PIQ, on that right hand side, you have talked about so many things that has to be avoided on the academic side. When you look at the PIQ on the right hand side, you showed something. It has to be only related to the your topper on the 10th. Yes, you're the topper 10th. That is what there. Second in that, so you have to write academic records on the left hand side of the way that is there, and all of the activities you on the right hand side. You have got enough capability. You can walk across on your own merit. Don't come under pressure. Okay, I think now I leave it to Captain Susi for summarizing it.
Yeah. Well, it was lovely, and I would say I'll go ahead with both my seniors, what they said. You are capable of doing it on your merit. By far, a very good interview. These points which has been highlighted by my seniors are only for improvement, so that there is no chance that you don't get selected. If you iron this out, that means you are guaranteeing yourself a success. That is what the endeavor is. It's not that personality-wise there is any issue. The three of us and both my seniors have seen through so many candidates that they know, and what they know, I will go with that. So, ये minor वो चीजें हैं which will assure you 100% success. So, improve on this points.
Yes.
There was a purpose for me not dwelling into general awareness with you, because when I initial part अगर आप कलकत्ता का जब बोल रहे थे, there was a plethora for me to go to what depth I can go into. ठीक है? There is a whole novel written by Lapierre, I'm forgetting this name, City of Joy. There's a thick book novel. ठीक है? And it was the capital of East India Company.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you have such a old heritage. Plus, there are so many communities living together and thriving.
Yes, sir.
Your sweet dishes are world renowned. Rasagulla and Misti Doi.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes,
Then UNESCO has given a special tag to your Kali Puja, Durga Puja, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Sir. Sir, not clear.
GI tags having.
Yeah. Then second point when came up when I asked you which is the latest aircraft Indian Air Force has acquired. Last month only we completed the delivery of 36 Rafale from France. Okay. Now since you are going for Air Force.
Yes, sir.
So my questions first started with that relevance. What rightly sir said that I look at the capacity of my candidate and then I dwell into where I have to pitch.
Yes, sir.
So yes, it is my mistake also. I should have come with some general awareness which you could have done about. But a person who's coming for Air Force interview is unable to correctly spell out the rank. And both my seniors hinted to Colonel Prasad sir hinted to you at PIQ ka start mein ki rank is very important to us. Okay,
Yes,
it
sir.
has been earned. So, बेटे आप इसके तरफ ध्यान दो. Okay, that was the first part. That was not your. This is not. I'm penalizing you. That was my mistake also, which correctly pointed out that I should have probed about general politics. Maybe you could have been aware of. Okay, Bernoulli principle slightly badly handled.
Yes, sir.
My expectation from you was very high. You are an outstanding student. My expectation was much better than that. Okay. So just work on this. You have everything what it takes to be successful in your first attempt. And I am capable. I can assure you one good quality that you have is what you rightly pointed out: dedication and hard work. Because you have a capacity for it, you will improve it.
Let's say her all activity itself indicates her all involvement. She is good at
you have it.
You've got your academics, you've got sports, you've got swimming, you've got boxing, you've got all sorts of things. What else do you want here?
Yeah. बस इन चीजों को iron out करो and focus on the questions. Understand the context. First, listen to the content, understand the context of the question, and then make your responses. They were logical, I'm not saying, but you were omitting what both my seniors have brought out. There were a lot of omissions. Like you didn't dwell upon your complete family. You didn't dwell upon what kind of general activities you get involved. हर बच्चा कुछ ना कुछ general activity कर ही रहा होता है. कुछ ना कुछ उसके This is your responsibility.
I just add on, as 18-year child, 19-year child, not getting involved with any home affairs. That's sad. That too being a girl.
नहीं वो हो रहा होगा, sir. I think she is not understood the question correctly. That is what my concern.
You can't afford to be doing. Even mommy is cooking around. Even if you've got a servant, you've got daya, you won't be asking what are you doing something for her.
कुछ तो कुछ जिम्मेदारी तो पक्का तुमने अपने कंधे पे ली होगी.
नहीं लिया होता. You please take it. You can't afford to show that I have taken no responsibility in the house. You have two advantages. You are the only girl. Both parents are there. Unfortunately, in Calcutta, in Bengal, what happens? Child is supposed to be the bag. Even the father, even she's 12th year, father will carry the bag on the shoulder and leave the child. That's a totally protected child. As Colonel Sharma has already put across, a protected child. You have to get out of that.
Come out of that.
जो बात समझ गए बेटा.
Yes,
मुझे
sir.
लगा कि कहीं ना कहीं आप जिम्मेदार हो, because I will fail to understand a child who is a vice captain in a school. A responsible child will not be taking responsibility at home. You are one personality. The same in school, same at home.
Yes, sir.
So I will not believe that you are not doing. It is just that you have not thought that I'm doing it. So content को सुनो और फिर context को समझ के answer करना. You are doing it. And that is what somebody brought out correctly, that you were too fast before the answer. Somebody felt that. I didn't feel it, but somebody felt that you were too fast in responding.
Because that's obviously she was trying to understand that is the reason.
Yeah, so take a pause. What I'm trying to say कि जो सर ने बताया वो उसको समझो, कहीं ना कहीं ये iron out हो जाएगा अपने आप.
Yes, sir.
Nothing else, sir, from my side.
Any question from your side, homie?
No, sir.
Huh? Okay. Nice then. Best of luck. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Huh?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Work on your general awareness. Work on your general awareness.
Today,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Today, I got a message from one of my students from there, but you can go on to Likhit, the word he had not passed.
Yes.
I'll just read out his comment for you, just to. Okay. He says, "Good morning, sir. Likhit here. I took your guidance in SSV in September. It benefited my recommended to Air Force SSV, Mysore. Thank you very much, sir. Your course helped me to present myself and platform better. This gentleman has failed at least 3-4 times, and he's passed.
Very nice, sir.
So I think that's happiness.
Sir, just 1 minute, sir. I forgot one thing. You know, Einstein was asked once ki if he's given 2 cats, a big cat and a small cat, and he's told to be put inside a box, how will he allow them to go in and out of the box? So Einstein said, I'll make 2 holes, one big and one small. ये आइंस्टाइन का आंसर था. अब मुझे बताओ, कोई कॉमन सेंस वाला होता तो एक बड़ा होल बनाएगा, उसमें से छोटा भी बच्चा निकल सकता है ना, एक ही होल से.
Yes, sir.
तो समटाइम कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रॉब्लम्स के कॉमन सेंस होते हैं. टाइगर नेवर क्लाइम्स अ ट्री. This question was asked to me in my SSB. I asked you the question which was asked to me. And my answer was, I will pick up a stone, throw it at the tiger and climb a tree.
Why did I say? You have to distract the tiger. Use the word distract the tiger. Did I say that or not?
Yes, sir.
You have
Yes,
to
sir.
distract it. Shout at him. He will get attention. Will get you. Shout around the tiger will get your attention. Where's the problem?
तो आइंस्टाइन का वो जो मैं एग्जांपल दिया था वो कई बार होता है कई सुपर इंटेलिजेंट लोगों में. That's what I think happened.
Okay. Right then. Thanks a lot. We are grateful to Captain Seats, Karan Sharma, Kamleshwar, and Rahul for all being part of it.
Sir.
Thankful to all of you, sir. I think let's pray. I think that she does well. I think that's the only thing we can pray. Okay.
Yes.
We have
All
done
the
our
best. All the best.
Okay.
All of you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All the
Thank you,
best.
sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for inviting.